The film begins with Violet, who is being brutally tortured by her husband, Phil. Their argument reveals that this abuse is not happening for the first time. Violet has had enough. Phil even points a gun at her. In response, Violet pulls out a hidden gun of her own. Whether she shoots him or not is not shown, and the scene cuts. Years later, Violet reappears. She now looks much stronger and is no longer with her husband. She works as a therapist, helping women who have been victims of domestic abuse. She lives with her sister and son. After many years, at her sister's suggestion, she agrees to meet someone named Henry, whom she has never seen before. She arrives at the five-star restaurant where the meeting is scheduled. As she enters, she accidentally bumps into a man but ignores it and goes outside to sit. She begins chatting with a waitress. Just then, an old man named Richard approaches and calls her by a different name. Violet looks surprised. Richard mistakes her for a friend who hasn't arrived yet. They begin to talk. Soon, Richard's actual friend arrives and he leaves to join her at their table. Meanwhile, Violet notices that someone is sending her drops, pictures and messages on her phone. These can only be sent by someone sitting close to her, but everyone around is using similar phones. She cannot figure out who is sending them. As she ponders this, Henry arrives, drawing her attention. Violet and Henry sit together and begin a formal conversation. When Henry asks about her son, she instinctively checks her phone for messages from her sister. Instead, she sees more drops and tells Henry about them. Henry also looks around, knowing the sender must be nearby. Violet tries to ignore the messages, but one suddenly shocks her. It asks her check her security camera. She quickly accesses the CCTV footage from her home and sees masked intruders inside. One of them holds a gun in her hand and is visibly shaken. Before she can tell Henry, she receives another message, warning her to stay silent. Nervously, she moves away and tries to call the police, but another message informs her that her phone has been cloned and all her actions are being monitored. She is warned not to contact the police or face the consequences. In the middle of this, she again bumps into the same man from earlier but ignores him once more and heads to the washroom. She plans to ask the girls there for help but gets another warning message, making her realize that she is under constant watch. She returns to the table without alerting anyone and resumes her conversation with Henry, keeping a calm expression. On her phone, she asks the mysterious person who he is and what he wants. Person tells her that Henry is a photographer and carries a camera with a memory card. She is instructed to remove and destroy the card, but she can only do this when Henry is not at the table. To make that happen, she cleverly removes her watch and hides it in her bag, then tells Henry that she may have lost it and asks him to look for it. When Henry leaves to search for the watch, Violet takes the opportunity to grab his camera from his bag. Camera contains photos and documents related to the mayor, evidence of corruption. The man wants Violet to destroy the evidence. She quickly removes the memory card and puts the camera back in Henry's bag. Just then, Henry returns. After exchanging a few words, Violet goes to the washroom again and breaks the memory card. She messages the mysterious man, saying the task is done and asks him to withdraw his men from her house. However, the man responds that the job is not finished. He instructs her to open a tall box nearby, which contains a small container with a liquid. The man demands that Violet somehow make Henry drink it. She realizes it is poison. Violet cannot take a life and refuses. The man then threatens her, saying if she does not kill Henry, her son will die. Her son is her only weakness. Trapped and blackmailed, Violet unwillingly agrees to go ahead with the plan. As she nervously steps out of the washroom, she notices the same man she bumped into twice earlier. She observes that he has been sitting alone for a long time, using his phone. Violet suspects that he might be the one sending the drops. Before she can confront him, she sees Henry about to leave the table. She approaches Henry, who tells her he feels she is uncomfortable with him and keeps making excuses to avoid him. He decides to leave. Violet stops him with a kiss and asks him to stay, assuring him there is no problem and she genuinely wants him to be there. While they speak, a girl loudly walks out of the restaurant. She is the same woman who had arrived earlier to meet the old man Richard. Seeing him upset, Violet feels bad and gives him an encouraging look. Then, Violet notices the man playing piano. Near him is a crystal bowl collecting money. An idea comes to her. She writes "help me" on a currency note using her lipstick and asks a waiter to pass it to the pianist. The waiter instead places the note into the crystal bowl. Violet keeps her eyes on the bowl, not expecting the man to notice it, but luckily the pianist does see the note. He even makes a phone call and Violet assumes he must have called the police. That moment, the waiter arrives with their food. In her dish, Violet spots the same note she had written. button. The other side now has another warning message from the blackmailer. She turns to look, wondering if the pianist himself is the blackmailer, but he collapses after drinking something, clearly a setup by the same person who doesn't want the police involved. Violet realizes she has made a big mistake trying to be clever. The man messages her again, instructing her to check her security cameras. She sees her son and sister being tortured. Her little son is even locked alone in a room. Another message arrives. If she wants all this to stop, she must complete the task. Reading this, she tells Henry that she will bring him something to drink. The waitress gives her the drink. Just as she is about to mix something in it, another message arrives, stating that the task must be done while sitting at the table. She takes the drinks back to the table and starts conversing with Henry again. Violet asks Henry what he sees in her that makes him want to meet. Henry explains that he usually doesn't socialize much and never uses dating profiles because most people lie about themselves there. But he noticed that Violet wrote the truth about herself, which impressed him and led him to meet her. Hearing this, Violet feels good knowing Henry values her honesty. She starts sharing more about her past, revealing how her husband used to torture her, even in front of their son. The abuse left her completely broken. After every incident, her husband would apologize and pretend everything was normal. She used to believe his apologies and forgive him repeatedly to save the family. But eventually, she realized nothing would change and she left him. As she opens up emotionally, Henry tries to comfort her and goes to get chocolates to cheer her up. Taking advantage of the moment, Violet quickly adds a few drops of poison into his drink and offers it to him when he returns. Just as Henry is about to drink it, Violet realizes her mistake. She cannot tell him the truth, so she deliberately spills the drink on him, preventing him from drinking it. The spill ruins Henry's clothes, so he goes to the washroom to clean up. Meanwhile, the blackmailer sends another message, accusing Violet of being too clever. This angers her, and she suspects the man she bumped into earlier is behind the messages. She is about to confront him when his partner arrives, confusing her further. He was really waiting for someone, then who is sending the messages? Violet approaches the waitress, who notices Violet's nervousness and asks if her partner is troubling her. The waitress offers help, mentioning that such situations are common in the restaurant, but Violet insists everything is fine and says Henry is a good person. She then asks the waitress about the man she had bumped into. The waitress explains that the man frequently visits and usually books the front table, but today he got a different one, currently occupied by Richard. This realization shocks Violet. She takes 2 drinks and walks over to Richard, offering him one. Richard declines, saying he already had a drink, and calls her by her name, Violet. This confirms her suspicion that Richard is the blackmailer, as she never told him her name. Violet asks Richard how he knows her name. He laughs and invites her to sit and drink. Knowing she can't refuse, she sits down and takes a sip. Then she asks him what he really wants. Richard says only one last task remains. If she completes it, he will release her and her son. He even compliments her cunning, acknowledging how she prevented Henry from drinking the poison. But he also says her cleverness caused a big problem. An innocent pianist died because of her. He admits he saw her note and called off something dangerous just in time. While they talk, Henry returns and checks if everything is okay. Violet introduces Richard as her friend. Henry and Richard greet each other. Then Violet hands Henry a drink. He drinks it at her request. She tells him to return to his table, saying she needs to talk to Richard briefly. She then tells Richard to call off his men. Realizing she completed the task, Richard calls his man and confirms the job is done. He resumes his dinner while Violet watches. As he finishes half his meal, Violet tells him she lied. She never poisoned the drink he had earlier. Richard instantly understands. He stirs his food and recalls the moment he watched Henry drink. Taking advantage of Richard's distraction, Violet had actually poisoned Richard's food. The drink she gave Henry was harmless. Realizing this, Richard becomes furious and pulls out a gun. Violet jumps back as everyone turns to look. Henry, witnessing the chaos, steps in front of Violet to protect her. Richard fires the gun and Henry takes the bullet. Before Richard can shoot again, the waitress attacks him from behind, twisting his arm. The bullet instead hits a hotel glass panel. Richard, now furious, attacks the waitress with a knife. Poor waitress gets injured in the assault. After stabbing her, Richard grabs his gun again and comes back toward Violet. This time, Violet picks up a nearby object and throws it at him. Richard dodges it, but the object shatters the glass behind him. The sudden air pressure pressure pulls Richard outward, and he falls to his death. The strong wind also pulls Violet toward the broken window. Just as she is about to fall, Henry rushes forward and grabs her hand, saving her. With great effort, Henry pulls her back to safety. At this point, both Henry and the waitress are injured, but Violet's first concern is her son. She grabs the keys to a car and rushes out after calling the police. At home, the kidnapper is shown torturing both Violet's son and her sister. To escape, they trick the kidnapper and lock themselves in a room. The man has a gun, which he uses to shoot the lock and easily opens the door. As soon as he enters, he shoots Violet's sister. He then turns toward her son, ready to kill him too. But just then, a noise distracts him. Violet has arrived and picks up a knife. As the kidnapper steps in front of her, she stabs him in the shoulder and attacks. Enraged, the man throws Violet across the room. She is weakened and unable to defend herself. As he prepares to strike again, Violet's son sends her a gun using his remote-controlled car. She quickly picks it up and shoots the man, saving herself and her son. Finally, Violet rescues her son from the danger. Sometime later, a scene shows Violet bringing food to Henry in the hospital. Her sister also survives, as the bullet had only grazed her arm. Henry is now recovering as well. Violet decides to start a family with Henry. Everyone is happy, and with this, the movie comes to an end.